Okay, what's going on, y'all? So I'm making this video because I'm a serial procrastinator and I have not posted any of the 1,000 pictures I've taken at Peru, and nor have I typed up basically the journal I made about my journey in Peru, the wellness or spiritual journey that I had. So yeah, I just decided, like, okay, finally, because it's been like 7 months and I barely posted anything besides some pictures. I said I was going to type this up, and I still haven't yet. So I'm just going to be unedited. I'm just trying to give you as much information as I can. I read through some of the ceremonies I had to kind of refresh my memory. I might check it a few more times, but this is going to be a long video because I'm going to talk to you about me going to Peru first and stuff I did before I went to the wellness retreat. And so, Mom, if you're watching, I tried to send you some videos or clips and stuff to watch to kind of soften the blow, but you're going to find out why I really went to Peru, and because she's always worried about everything. So I didn't really tell her why I was actually going to Peru. But basically, you know, for my 30th birthday, I wanted to go somewhere, and I've been fascinated with Egypt and its history and its artifacts for a while. And so I wanted to go to Egypt, but I kept slacking on, like, finding out how much stuff costs. I was like, oh, this costs a lot, $3,000 for this whole thing. Then I got to pay for the airfare and stuff like this to do then the tours are included in that $3,000, but it's just like, then I'm going by myself. And so I was just like wishy-washy about it and not really doing the research I was supposed to do. And then when I started to do the research, it was just like, I want to go in like 3, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever. And first of all, I gotta save $3,000. Well, like, why didn't I think about this? And so randomly, I heard about ayahuasca. So it's like it's a ancient plant medicine from the Amazon. And so I heard about it. I was like, what? Why have I never heard about this? Starting to get into more spiritual stuff and reading about things. And so when I found out about it, I started researching it, and it was like 2 to 3 hours a day from that point on of me watching videos, reading about it, reading articles, and it just blew my mind, honestly. I already knew about how much of a sham the whole drug war type thing was, and how the government was basically putting crack into neighborhoods, and how we used to all watch those commercials with "this is what weed will make your head do," and people, you believe stuff like that. You believe stuff that are legal is bad for you just because it's illegal. And so I was already kind of doing some of that research, and this also helped me realize, like, why psychedelics are a Schedule A or a Schedule 1 drug, even though they were shown to help people even back in the 60s. But I found out, because the president at the time, I think it was Nixon, felt like the person who was like, oh, free your mind from the government, make your own choices, understand and explore your conscience and your spirituality. That guy was a professor at like Ivy League school, and he quit, and he said free your mind, because he started exploring psychedelics, and he was called the #1 threat to the government, because people were like, oh, I don't want this war, I don't want to go to Vietnam, I don't want people to keep fighting and stuff like that. And the president wanted the war, so he was like, okay, this is public enemy #1. We want you to be on the government side. We don't want you telling people to go against the government. And so, of course, throughout that and everything else, he made psychedelics Schedule 1, when they were all like LSD was helping people with alcoholism and army vets and stuff like that. And then you had all these scientists doing research on psychedelics helping with depression and that. And because he made it a Schedule 1 drug, now it was way hard for scientists to even do their own research. Forget people doing it as for fun recreation or self-helping themselves, whatever depression they might have had. It was hard for everybody to even get their hands on it or even get money to do the research. And so basically for 40 years, we lost so much research we could have had, because there are people who just can't take the antidepressant. It doesn't help them with anything. And so he basically ruined that whole thing. But anyway, I was doing that research, and I also started doing a research on how they basically, if you look throughout history and you look through religion, a lot of religions were using some type of psychedelic to connect with God, you know. And I try to understand different religions. I don't like religious institutions, but I like to understand them and just, you know, gain more knowledge of them. And so when I start finding something, I'm like, wait, Christians have this in the Bible, and they believe that people believe that this thing was a psychedelic, like manna. It might not have just been bread, it might have been fungus, it might have been a psychedelic, you know. And then you have the priests and stuff that will go into temples, and they will have all these different herbs and spices in a bowl, light it on fire, close themselves in the smoke, breathe in the smoke, get under the influence, speak to God, leave, and then spread the word of God to people. Did nobody ever think to realize what they are being under the influence of something? What do you think that is? For me, through my research, I personally believe, and a lot of other people believe, but everybody has their own beliefs, but I believe that in a sense, psychedelics are kind of a connection between different dimensions. So we live in a reality, we live in this dimension where everything physical, I was talking to our friends and stuff, but you have people who can see spirits. You have people who meditate and go and connect with a different realm. You have people who astroplane, or etherical, I think it's called, plane, and they go into different places when they sleep, right? And so I think that's a connection that some people have a stronger connection with the other dimensions or other spiritual world than other people do, right? And then people say that, like, they near-death experiences, they see God, or they see people, they see family members. It's really like that's part of them connecting more with that spiritual side, that spiritual world. But anyway, with all that research, I decided I'm going to Peru, right? So maybe 2-3 months after that, you know, I already had points on my card. So my plan was, like, flights and stuff is to use the points that's on my credit card. So I asked my a friend who's very, very spiritual. I was like, have you heard of this ayahuasca? And she was like, yeah, I went to this place. I was like, all right, well, let me look up the place. This is the place I'm going to go. So I booked my ticket for the time period I wanted. And I also paid for the place that she told me about. But then I saw a post on Facebook, because I was like, dang, I'm going by myself. I would really love to connect with somebody, find somebody that's also going. How can I do this? And so I was just looking through Facebook, and I found a post of a woman who basically, I think she had tried to go with her husband. Her husband's passport was expiring in less than 6 months. So they kind of got there, or was going to the airport, and they realized, oh crap, we can't be in the country. They're not going to let us in because his passport is expiring. So technically the business didn't give refunds normally, and so they offered to refund her half of it. So that's like one ticket instead of two, and so she was selling the other ticket. And, you know, I was talking to her, working around the price and stuff like that, because that would have been another additional session I could take, of ceremony I can take, than what I had bought. And so luckily, because it was so close to the time, I worked it out with the people. Like, I bought it from her. She was really nice. She gave me a great price. Bought it from her, sent her the money, and I was able to work with the people at the place to switch it, where I got a refund from what I paid for, and that was attached to me, the one she gave me. And so that got me Machu Picchu included, but also another session of the ayahuasca. Yeah, so I booked it, and then from there, you know, I was still doing, you know, my research, reading about it. I know I had to create intentions. It's recommended to create intentions of about what you intend to get from the session to ceremony. And that's also another reason I'm making this video, is because I was doing research on YouTube and watching a lot of people's videos about the experience. So I want to be transparent too, but I want you to know that no matter how much I tell you about what they did in this ceremony and how they did it, don't think that you can just go and be some shaman for somebody without doing your own research or your own training, because I could tell you what they did, but these are people that also, it has been, the healing that they do has been passed down from generation to generations in their families. These people who have trained for years to do stuff like this. And so that's also why I wanted to go to this place, because I saw other places that were doing it, even some in America, but I was like, if I'm going to do this my first time, my first psychedelic, one of the strongest psychedelics in the world, it was my first time taking it. So I was like, I'm gonna go to the authentic people. And yeah, booked my ticket. The time finally came. It just so happens that I had moved in recently. I had moved in with people, and they were Peruvian. Just so happens they were Peruvian, and there's a couple, and the woman, her parents still lived in Peru. And so when I told her I was going, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'll connect you with my parents." And because I don't speak no Spanish, just realized this too. So I was like, "Okay, cool." And so the time came, and I downloaded WhatsApp. I added her parents onto it, and I went and got on my flight. I forgot how long it was. It was long. It was okay. Maybe it was like 6 hours, maybe 7. I don't know, because the time is different over there. So when I got there, it was kind of earlier than what it actually took to get there. But got on a flight, got there at the airport, taking pictures of everything. I get out, and I'm landing in Lima, Peru. Get out, and boom, because I got 2 phones. She also gave me her brother had just moved from there to America, and so he gave me his phone so I can use the minutes that's left on there to also communicate with her parents. So I had that phone, but I was really using my own phone for now, because it would have cost a lot of money eventually to use my phone and pay for talking with the plan I had and include that international. And so I was using my phone most of the time, but when I got there, my phone wasn't working, and I was trying to talk to the mom and the daughter, because the daughter speaks English and the mom speaks Spanish. And so they're trying to figure out where I am, because COVID is going on still at this point. And so people that are picking up people can't go into the airport. They have to be on the street, which is blocks away. And so I was like, oh crap, I can no longer talk on my phone. So I switch out the phones, and I'm talking to the girl, and she talking to her mom, whatever, and they're trying to direct me to figure out where to walk. Finally, I figure it out. I'm just walking. You got all these people around me say, taxi, 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 trying to get you to get a taxi. But I finally just see a street. I'm like, okay, she's probably over there. I walk to the street. She's waving because she sees me, because I sent a picture of what I was wearing. She sent a picture of what she was wearing. And immediately, as soon as I pass the gate, she says hi, hugs me, embraces me, and then boom, we're on a walk. We're on a walk to find a taxi, and it's just her. The husband's not there, and so she's talking to the guys in Spanish, all these guys around her, trying to negotiate a price for the taxi. She figures, because it's no meter type thing. It's negotiate the price that you want for where you're going. And so she picks a person. We get in the taxi, and from there we start talking using Google Translate. I hope I find it a commercial casting for Google Translate, because I have a story for that. And so that's mainly what I was using my whole trip there. So we're talking, through that, just talking about stuff, how the trip was and all that stuff, and she's smiling, laughing or whatever. And we get to her house. She asked me, am I hungry? She literally, this woman is amazing. She literally has a list on her wall of what I can eat, because with the ayahuasca ceremony, you're not supposed to eat on a certain diet. So she knew that, because I had told her daughter that, and her daughter told her. So she had a list, and she was saying, oh, he can eat chicken, he can eat rice, and this and that. And so she asked, am I hungry? And I didn't really want her to cook, because it's 8, 9 o'clock, right? And I'm like, I don't want her to have to cook right now. But I guess she's gonna cook for her husband anyway, whatever. But I told her, yeah, I eat something. If she's already gonna cook. And so she cooked for me. Husband came down, she introduced me to him. We were just talking, still just using Google Translate. You have the conversation button. And so we were just having a conversation, talking about Peru and why I came to Peru and stuff like that. I actually had to fly again the next day, because something happened with the scheduling. Because I was supposed to fly into Lima, and then a few hours later take a plane to Cusco, which is the tourist place, which Machu Picchu is around that area. That's a 2-hour flight from Lima, and that's where I was also going to take the ayahuasca. But I had to space it out between a day, and so I stayed at her place, and the next day my flight wasn't until the afternoon. So we woke up. She took me into the museum. It was just me and her. The husband was working. So, you know, she had got the taxi and everything like that. Whole time I had agreed with the roommate that I was going to pay, you know, at least for the transportation and stuff like that. But she would not take any of my money. And so we went to the museum, and it was about the history of some of the battles, the big battles in Peru at Lima, because Lima's right there where the ocean is. I think it's the ocean. And so they were just telling stories about that at the museum. Like, they had a video. I couldn't understand anything because it was in Spanish. There was no English version of it, but I was just looking at the videos, the pictures and stuff like that. And then me and her was just walking around. We were walking around looking at some of the rooms, because it was like I forgot what you call it, but it's like when you have those places right off the lake, when like it's like a barrier with the cannons and stuff when they're fighting on land against the boats, in a sense. And so that's where we were. And so you had a lot of chambers, you had like a lot of places where they would keep the prisoners and stuff like that. And so we were just going through all the small dark rooms and stuff, laughing, having a good time, taking pictures, and I was just learning about stuff, learning about the history. We went to eat there, and we still using Google Translate, eating. And I'm pretty sure I had something. I was supposed to have some type of dessert, because she's like, oh, you're going to try this, you're going to try this. So she has me trying this stuff. And these younger people that actually probably worked there saw us using Google Translate. And one of the guys who was learning English came up to me. He's like, hey, how are you, blah, blah. He's like, could you tell me what this is? He shows me his phone. It says bad and bougie. He's like, what does this mean? And so I explained to him what it means. And he also asked me, like, what does chill out mean? Chill out. And I was kind of explaining to him what like hanging out and chilling out meant. And yeah, and so after that we left. We went back home to our house, because I had to get my luggage, and then we had like an hour or two before we had to leave to make sure we got to the airport, and hung out there, left. And I'm trying to remember. Did I meet back up with them? Yeah, I was after, but I hung out there. I hung out there. I'm pretty sure I met back up after. I don't think this was before, but I hung out there. We went to the airport, once again, hugged and all that stuff, and then I flew to Cusco. I got to Cusco that afternoon. Found my hotel, which was right near a plaza. I think it was Plaza de Armas, which is a nice big plaza. There was a Starbucks above me, where they had this special drink, maracuya, which is like passion fruit here in America, but it's their fruit there. They had a frap, delicious. So I went there, settled myself, and I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do, I got 2 days before I actually have to go to a wellness place, because they want you to at least be there 2 days before, because you have to get acclimated to the altitude. And I kind of started to realize when I got off that plane that I was like breathing weird. I'm like, nah, maybe I'm thinking it because I knew about the research, maybe it's a placebo effect, but nah, like I started to realize that I had a shortness of breath. Like, you can get sick, you can get nauseous and stuff like that, and so they automatically tell you can drink muniati, or you can drink coca leaf tea. Both of those are illegal here, because coca leaf is like the leaf that you make cocaine out of. And then I don't know why the other tea is illegal, but you drink that because it helps with altitude sickness. And the wellness retreat, like, they rather you drink those things than to take medication, because you don't want to you really want to be off, especially if you take antidepressants. You can't be on antidepressants and take a psychedelic, because that can really mess you up, or you can have this serotonin overload type thing. But still wants you to be clear of any medications, really. So I don't really take medication. So I was drinking a tea a lot, and I don't like tea, but this tea was really good. This Munia tea was really good, and the mom had made it for me too herself, and this is the best one that I've had there. And so I noticed a shortness of breath, and I get to my room. I'm like, okay, what I'm gonna do for these 2 days? And I find a free walking tour, so I schedule that for the next day. And that night, I think I went outside, because I'm right by the plaza, and you see all these people just chilling, enjoying music. It is COVID, but there's so many people there. And then they start dancing. Some live band of 2 or 3 people were there. People are dancing, holding hands, running into the circle together, running out of the circle, holding hands. It was like having a great old time, grand old time. See, I'm messing up the schedule. I'm messing up the scheduling because that was probably the day after. Because I'm gonna tell you why. But the next day, I went on a walking tour, and so before I went on a walking tour, I think my schedule's all messed up. I'm telling you, it's been 7 months. So I'll write all this stuff up that I wrote in the books, and so you'll see the way it goes. But there's a museum I noticed around the area, because I'm in Cusco. I'm in the city of Cusco. You know, this is where tourists go. Even people that are from Peru, because Peru is a country, they go there because they might live really far. So I scheduled this tour, and it's just really me and 2 other people with the tour guide. And before that, there was a museum, and I went to the museum, Corey Concha, I believe it's called, and just walked around learning about stuff. Luckily, they had English translation with all their posts and stuff that they had, so I learned about the stuff in the place. And at one point, I noticed these girls trying to take a picture. I'm like, you want me to take a picture for you? They spoke English, and they was like, yeah. And so I took a picture for them. Didn't, think nothing. I was like, oh, these very pretty girls. Didn't think nothing of it. Told them why I was there because they asked why I was there, and I was like, oh, cool. Ayahuasca, wow, that's crazy. And what about my day? Went to the walking tour with me and the other 2 people who are also tourists visiting, and one of the girls was telling me how she just got really, really sick the day before. They were both nauseous and throwing up and stuff like that. But the walking tour is where I really noticed it. Like, I'm telling you, like, walking up a slight hill, walking up 1 flight of stairs, I was out of breath, right? I was having to pause, catch my breath and everything like that, because it was just, the altitude was so different. I didn't have nausea or anything like that, but I was just getting tired easily. And this has happened the whole time I was in Peru, when I would like walk up steps and stuff. But we went on a tour. The guy was so knowledgeable about everything. Like, the other dude that was with me kept asking questions. We were even talking about the politics of Peru. And he just knew everything. He just knew so much. We went through the market. We saw like the dried up fetuses of the alpaca. We saw the packages that they use to pray to Mother Pachamama, and then Father Witakosha, and so how they give these offerings to the land, to say thank you to Mother Nature for giving them all these things. So they have these pre-made packages that you can buy in the market. We saw all the different types of fruit. We saw all the different types of stands at this big market, and we saw like the different types of clothes, because it's shops everywhere there because it's a tourist city, and people are always trying to sell you something, especially they know you're not from the country. And a lot of stuff you just you bargain with them, you bargain with like the price and stuff. And I kind of had that experience from going to Ghana a little bit, but here it was easier for me to figure out the pricing compared to American, because it was like really money was like 4 times as much. So when I had like my solas, I kind of knew how to to navigate how much this will actually cost. And so we did the whole tour. At the end of the tour, he said, we have other tours that you can pay for if you want to pay for it. And so right then and there, I signed up for one, because I want to do more tours before I had to go to the wellness retreat. And he was so great, I wanted to do a tour with that company. And so I signed up for more tours. One tour the next day, and these start early. They're like long tours because you got to get back in the bus and drive to another location and stuff like that. So signed up for a tour. Next day, I do the tours, different person, and we go to a bunch of different ruins, Inca ruins, and they talk about the history of the Incas and how they brought together a lot of cultures and things like that. Damn, it's already 24 minutes. I didn't even talk about my experience. I'm gonna try to put time stamps on certain things. But we go on that tour, and I'm taking pictures everywhere. We go to the salt ruins. We go to this shop and that shop, and they go to some of these shops. They partner with the businesses to keep the tour cheaper. So they like let the businesses do a presentation, like how they make the different hats and stuff. So like the real actual hats like this, but the real ones and stuff, how they make that, how they dye the alpaca fur, I guess you would call it, how they dye it and color it to make the different clothing items that they make, and then they give you opportunity to shop there and buy stuff. So we went to different stuff like that. We saw alpacas. You got to touch them, take pictures with them, and all that. So very cool. I was like, we went to the Inca ruins. We learned how the Incas would store their potatoes, how they would cleanse the potatoes from poison that used to really grow in all the potatoes, how they would grow flowers that weren't from the place. So they would like literally take the seeds from miles and miles away, bring them there, and even though the seeds are not supposed to grow in that area, they create a system built off of like levels of the rock that had different degrees where they would grow the plant for years just to also move it down to a mountain for offering to gods and stuff like that. So crazy what they did, but I was learning so much history before I even went to my wellness retreat. I did, I believe I might have did another tour after that. I can't remember. But dinner time came for the ayahuasca retreat, the wellness retreat. So when that day came, you know, I had to pack up my stuff and leave my hotel to find a minivan that was picking us up. We were all going to meet in a central location. So that was a trip in itself, because once again, you're walking up hills and stuff with luggage, and I was like dying out of breath or whatever. I'm like, oh, let me make it on time. I don't want them to leave me. Oh my God. And so might have been a few minutes late, but we were still coming to find out we were waiting for a person. So I met them. It was like the nurse in there, it was one of the drivers, the psychologist. There was a guy in there who was another participant, another black guy. And I think it might have been another girl, I don't know. But we had to go and pick up the other participant because it was going to be a total of 3 of us. I guess she couldn't figure out where we were at, or sometimes she was trying to figure something out. And so, you know, me and him just got to talking, like when we were just connected in front of John, because I guess we were both black men, so we were just talking and stuff like that. And he was talking about why he was there, his experiences with psychedelics and stuff. We were just kicking it, talking. We went to go get the other girl, but that was a trip in itself because we were on hills, and some of the streets, very small streets, some of the streets were blocked off. And so we had to figure out how to get up the hill in a minivan with luggage on top. So let's just say we were sliding back some of the streets a little bit, and we finally figured out how to get around to get out. And so we got out, we picked her up, was talking to her a little bit, and then we just went on a trip. Went on a trip to the retreat, where the retreat was actually at, which might have been like an hour and a half or so away. I don't know. I can't really remember. But talking the whole time, they started playing music. We started jamming to music. And they stopped at one point so we can take pictures around this beautiful lake, and we talked about it, and they allowed us to take pictures, stretch our legs a little bit. So we did that, got back in, and continued the journey. And then we got to the mountain. This mountain, to get to the location, this mountain was a 2-directional mountain, right? Two ways, cars can go. 1 lane, no guardrails. Minivan with luggage. So we're winding up all the way up this mountain. Like, you can literally see the cliff. You can see all down, you know, all the way down. Like, we're on a mountain. I do not like heights. I'm on this side, so I'm sitting here trying to talk, holding the back of the seat, just like, I don't like heights. And I kind of knew from that point on, like, even if I had a great experience, I might not go back to this place just because it's on a mountain. Man, there was points where there was another car coming. So like when we had those turns, you couldn't see anything. He would beep the horn driving up to let people know, like, we're coming. And so there was points where it was another car coming, and you would have to either get really close to the edge of the inside to let them pass through the outer edge, or you would be on the outer edge letting them pass through. So that whole thing was just like, bruh, like, so we finally made it there. Beautiful place. It's like a valley. It's in between 2 mountains, so it's like a valley. You have the kind of like the dorms in a sense. So like everything's really nice. Like looks very new, because I think they had an old location and then opened this location not too long ago. But everything's new. You have these like kind of dorms where they'll have 2 or 3 beds in the room. So it's one room downstairs and there's one room upstairs with 3 beds maybe in each. And they had like 3 of those different dorm type things on this side. Then you can walk down the stairs, across a small bridge, you get to the other side. It's where the kitchen is. That's where the meeting room is. Maloka is where we do the ceremonies. That's over there. The kitchen's over there. I think also it's maybe some more dorms where the staff would stay when the staff, because I think they switch off staffs every few days, so the staff would stay on location to, you know, cook, do stuff overnight, whatever. They maintain the land themselves. The water comes from a river that passes through, so they have their own cleansing measures. That's why they don't want you to use harsh chemicals or anything like that, because, you know, they don't have a high-tech type of cleansing thing, but certain harsh chemicals you can't really cleanse as well as you want to, and so they want you to use all natural stuff. They're very sustainability. They're really very they think that's very important, so that's what they do. And so that beginning of that day, we didn't have really much to eat besides breakfast, whatever our own breakfast was fruit or something like that, because you want to, the whole time we were on a diet for like a month in advance, or 2 weeks at least in advance, to make sure we are cleansed and processed through whatever bad stuff. And then on the days of your ceremonies is at night, and they can last for 6 hours. You want to make sure you're not eating anything, because you don't want to, because you're going to purge. You are going to throw up. You're going to purge either by throwing up or diarrhea or whatever, but that's going to happen. So you don't want to have too much crazy stuff in your body. And so we didn't really eat besides the fruit that we might have had that morning. And so from that point on, we had a meeting individually with the doctor. We had a doctor exam that we were supposed to bring already, but if you didn't bring that, you have to pay for them to do their own exam. You have a meeting with the psychologist, talking about like why you're here, what you might be going through, and what you hope to get out of it, and then kind of use that to assess how much they're going to give you of the ayahuasca. If you don't know what ayahuasca is, it's basically I wonder if it's chacruna leaves. I can't remember the leaves, but you have these leaves. Some people make it a little bit different, but the basis is 2 things. You have the ayahuasca itself, which is also the name of the plant, that is also known as the vine of death, they call it. You have that. Then you also have the leaves. So basically, if you drink like ayahuasca, the plant by itself, you are not going to really get the experience of the visions or whatever, because there's something in your body, like your stomach acids and stuff, that will inhibit you from actually processing the properties of the psychedelic or the DMT or whatever that's released. And so they pair it with these leaves that inhibits that from happening. So somehow this has been used for thousands of years. Somehow they figured out what plants, 2 plants go together out of thousands, millions of species. They figured this out. Ancient people figured this out. So you put the 2 together, you cook it down. You cook it down a lot, and then from that point, you know, you might be taking shots of it. Shots, so not like full cups, right? And so they do that whole process separately. But I forgot where I was. But where was I? Yeah, okay. So that day we had a meeting where we kind of went through like the religious, the ancient like religions, or some people still practice it. And I have like an item here that I have bought, which was like, it's actually the Andean cross, and the Andean cross means different things. But I also I tried to draw it in my book, but I was terrible at drawing it. But basically, we had a meeting, and it looks something like this. So see, I kept messing up when I was trying to figure out what the steps, and these things mean something. This bottom part means something. That top part means something. This side means something. This side means something. And you know, they all mean you know, they all have their history. And yeah, so we went through over some stuff like that. We went through the type of meditation they do. They do this type of meditation called Munai meditation. Is really about unconditional love. So you're thinking of a moment when you experience real love, and then you're trying to express that love and that gratitude into other things. And it's just really about finding that memory of unconditional love that you're using to meditate with. So that's the specialty thing they do. So we talked about that. Talked about our experience, if we had different types of experience with psychedelics and stuff at all. And yeah, and so once we learned about that, learned the type of meditation, when the time came around 5:30, we went to go meditate. And that maybe lasted it felt like an hour. I don't know. It felt long to me because I don't really meditate like that, especially if I do it not that long. So my legs started hurting and I was crossing them. I had to fix it and stuff like that. But after that, he would leave, give us some silent time to ourselves before the shamans would come in. Now you have 3 shamans. I forgot what the main guy, I forgot where he was from, but you have 2 women who are shamans, one from the Andean mountains, so my friends call me, I'll call it back. One from the Andean mountains, and then one from the Amazon. So they both, their tribes, their history deals with ayahuasca, but and a little bit differently. They're from different places, and so things are different, but they blend both the cultures together for the ceremony, which is very cool that they do that. They both have their specialties that they do in the ceremony. And so when it was time for that, you have the shaman, which might be outpouring energy into the ayahuasca. So you have the main bottle. He might be, doing things, maybe whispering, prayers and stuff into the bottle itself, doing his own cleansing type of ceremony. And we had our own cleansing ceremony before too, with the coca leaves, to make sure we cleanse ourselves separately. But at the beginning, he's doing that. We do stuff for protection. So you have Florida water, like Florida de Agua, which is spiritually known for protection. I learned that before that, and I was like, oh, they use that too here. Wow. And so we had 3 different types. There were 2 that we would use. We would, rub it through our body to give us that protection that we needed in a ceremony. We also had some dirt and water that we also use for protection and grounding. And from that point on, they were divvying up the ayahuasca into the shot cups, and they figured out what dosage they wanted to give everybody from the interviews that they had with us. And once they put it into the cups, also I think they blew tobacco over top of it to, I think it helps with the connection a little bit better. Passed that to us like this. We grabbed our cups, let everybody get their cup, did one more prayer, and boom, took that first shot. From that point on, you get water, you wish it around your mouth, you spit it out into the bucket, because you all have a bucket. You have a bed that's on the ground, we're in a circular maloka bed that's on the ground. You have a bucket next to you. You might have a tobacco stick, or a cigarette, but way cleaner, in case you want to smoke it. That also helps with your visions, if you want to have more visions, I guess. You have that, you have your blanket, tissues, I guess, because you can purge. Like I said, you throwing up, you're definitely going to throw up. Purge through diarrhea, and some people purge through yawning, maybe crying too, I think, or blowing your nose. And so after we swish it around, spit out that little bit that's left, because they say it's nasty. It wasn't as nasty as I've read, but it is definitely not a pleasant taste. But after that, you don't want to drink any water, because you want it to process through your body a little bit. And then after an hour, they kind of come up to you, like the nurse, like, hey, could you drink some water? It's because it's gonna help you throw up. So that's why they prevent you from drinking the water at first until it goes through your body. And then you drink the water, it'll help you throw up. I remember stomach was bubbling. I felt it going through me. And then I remember taking my first trip to the bathroom. Definitely had diarrhea or whatever. But then I started feeling it more, right? So I took that trip, went back, then I finally started throwing up. And that's when I had 4 or 5 good purges. And they always say, I've always read that when you purge, it's not like a regular puking. and it wasn't. You feel it, but you feel like this energy is just coming out of you, like this, like whether it's negative, this negative energy is just releasing from you. And so that's what I felt. I just felt like I was, you know, some of it was drive heaving and then throwing up too, but it was just, you also sometimes you feel like you're throwing up so much, but you really barely throwing up sometimes each time. But I just felt like this negative energy was coming out me. And then once you throw up, then you start to feel it more. You start to feel the effects of it. And I just started feeling this, just like this good feeling going through me. Like I was just started moving like this, and I'm just like, I start to breathe. Next thing I know, I'm just swaying. I'm just smiling. I just feel so good. Like no stress, no nothing. I'm just happy. I started feeling like a kid. And I started feeling, okay, I got to use the bathroom again. And it's weird. Every time I talk about this, I start getting some of those feelings again. And I have to use the bathroom again. And meanwhile, me and the other guy, because there's 3 of us taking this, me, the guy, and a girl. Then everybody else is staff or shamans and stuff there. And after that hour, they also start singing. This link, it's called Icaros, is what they call it, and it's supposed to help you through your spiritual journey, but it also affects you in a way, because all your energy is there, so you're kind of connected in a sense too. So I start, especially when he starts doing it, the Icaros, like faster and louder or whatever, you feel the vibration. So I started to feel the vibration, and that would make me throw up. And so I go to the bathroom again. Me and the guy is in and out the bathroom. At one point, we're both in the stall. We both start giggling, but I feel the effects more in a stall sometimes than I do in a room with the shaman, because I think it's because the stall has the walls, and I feel the vibrations bouncing off the wall. And so I start feeling like, mind you, the first day they're saying like, don't necessarily go with your intentions, just let the medicine connect with you. So I start feeling like I didn't go with my intentions, but my prayers were kind of also towards my ancestors being with me. And I started to feel these like warm energy around me, but cold wind around me, but warm hands just touching me, touching me, like hugging me. And I'm just sitting there in a bathroom. And then I start to slightly hear the shaman. And next thing I know, I'm going with him. Like literally, I'm going down, up, down, into the bathroom stall. I could not stop singing, like singing with the shaman. I don't know what he's singing, but I'm singing with him. At certain points, I'm syncing with him. At certain points, I'm not. And I'm just singing and whatever. And so I finally stop at certain points. And then I just go back in it. Like it just takes over me, and I go right back into it. And still just feeling so good, so great, no word. I feel like a kid. And I leave the bathroom for the second time. I don't know if I go back in there again. I go into the room. Oh, I forgot to tell you. When you leave, like somebody usually follows you to the bathroom, they make sure you make it to the bathroom, whatever. But sometimes one of the shaman comes out, because you want to really, that room is full of protection, right? And the further you get away from it, it could be danger when it comes to spirits and stuff like that. And so they want to protect you. So sometimes the shaman will come out, one of them. And so I know one of the shamans came out, and they came into the bathroom, and, they have Palo Santo smoke that they have in a room. And then they have the tobacco that they sometimes blow or whatever and smoke. So I started to smell that. And then that would make me go like, And so I kind of knew they were in there. I sensed them being in there. And that would happen between me singing. And so I go into the room. I kid you not, both the other 2 people chilling, laying down, doing their journey, experiencing whatever they're experiencing. Me, I would not sit down. I would not. I was literally just dancing, standing up, just dancing. I could not stop dancing at all. Everybody's sitting down, laying down. I'm just like going, whether it's 2-stepping, whether it's doing a Michael Jackson dance. I could not stop dancing that whole time. Like every time he was singing, I was dancing or singing with him. And so he would stop for a little bit, and then I would get control of myself. and I would go to lay down, and he would start singing again, and I'd just be like, even in the bed, like I would finally get to my bed. I finally got to my bed, put my cover on, and he started singing. I throw my cover off, and I just start going like this, still dancing and singing, whatever. This happened the whole night. Now, mind you, this ceremony is like 4, 5, 6 hours, and so that's me. The whole first ceremony, that's me. And so what time are we? 45 minutes, damn. And so after that, we after a while, what they'll do is they'll close the ceremony, doing, you know, whatever, another type of cleansing ritual closing ceremony, and we will all start to feel calm and calm down, and we will eventually go to sleep. And see, I'm forgetting stuff. I forgot to tell you, I didn't just take that shot. After that hour, they asked, if you're not feeling effective, do you want to take more? So I took a little bit more, maybe another half or a quarter during the beginning. And so back to the, you know, the closing, we close and we all fall asleep. And then maybe after an hour or so, they'll wake us up and say, hey, would you like to go to your room? Really, it's just like, go to your room. And so they take us to our room. The nurse comes around checking our blood pressure, just to make sure we're fine, asks us if we're fine, if we really like to eat. I didn't want to eat that first night. The other two people, I think they went to the kitchen. They went to go eat something. Maybe I think they gave them soup or something. I didn't want to eat. I went to my room and I wrote in my journal. I tried to do that every night after the ceremony, and I did that, and then I just chilled in there. And then eventually, the other guy came back, and my roommate. So he came back because he was also my roommate. It was just me and him in a room, just us two. And then the other girl was I think she might have a room by herself, or she was in a room with the staff. I don't know. But he came back, and mind you, there's two dogs that they roam around the buildings and stuff like that. That's their dogs. One dog is so afraid of everybody, doesn't want to mess around with everybody. Other dog's mad, friendly, and cool. This dog, I guess, knew we were under influence or whatever. They both came in our room, and they just chilled with us. They spent the whole night in our room. So my roommate had came out. We talked for a while. The dogs eventually came in, and they just chilled with us the whole night. Apparently you're not supposed to do that because you don't want them to feel comfortable like coming in the room, because, you know, people might have allergies, but we didn't know that, and so we let them in and they just stayed with us. So that was like the first night. The next day we would have a meeting where we would talk about our experiences, how we felt, and I talked about my experience, how I felt, and the shaman, one of the ladies, she was talking about how I connected very well with the medicine and with the shaman, and she felt like that I might be a future healer, and which is interesting because, like, I have like 10 intentions I have written, and maybe half of them were in some sense some type of healing, and some of them weren't healing necessarily for myself. It was me learning how to heal somebody else or some other people. And so that was interesting that she said that, and that was kind of part of my intentions. And I felt like that's how I am in general sometimes, whether it's giving my friends advice or talking to my friends and trying to help people. I kind of felt like that's me anyway. So it made sense that she said that. And she knew about me singing in the bathroom, and she was just saying those are signs that you might be a future healer. And that I received a lot of energy from Mother Aya, which is ayahuasca, the grandmother spirit of ayahuasca. And so that was ceremony 1. The next day was ceremony 2. Throughout that day, we had our breakfast. We did. I might tell you, I might be mixing this week up when it comes to certain activities, but we had volunteer activity at a dog shelter, where we helped play with the dogs a little bit, brush them and clean them, get couple of the dogs washed, because it's really like showing gratitude by giving, showing love, because of how dogs, animals give unconditional love. And so that was the volunteer activity that we did for that day. Same process, not really eating anything after that first meal. Our second ceremony out of 3 was that second night. And so we go to that second ceremony. That day for me, I might have used the bathroom once and I did not throw up. The ceremony for me felt like a lot of worry. I was worried about the other 2 people in the room. right? I was worried what they were experiencing. Were they fine? I was worried about the dogs. If they were okay, if they were cold outside. I was just a lot of where I wasn't focusing on myself. I was worried about other people. At one point, I think the guy went outside, my roommate went outside and enjoyed the stars, whatever, looked out, and he was with the shaman, and I came out there eventually, and I was like, oh my God. He's like, see, because he told me the day before he wanted to go outside, and he eventually went. And I didn't see him, and I started worrying more and more. And so I eventually went outside, and man, the moon, they looked like they were right there. The stars looked like they were right there for you to touch them. It was insane. And so there was a shaman outside because we were out of kind of the room, out of the circle. So she was still there to protect us, whatever. She was really with him. And then I guess I realized like I kind of interrupted their moment, whatever. But I came outside and he still kept looking at him, making sure he was good and stuff. And then we eventually went back inside, and I still was worried. And at one point I asked, how are the dogs? Are they fine? Are they good? Are they inside? He's like, yeah, they're inside. They're cool. Went to sleep right after that. Knew they were fine. I went to sleep right after that. I told them about my experience. And I told them like how I was sending energy to other people. And one of the girl that was there, she was talking about how she felt my love or my energy coming to her in her ceremony, that's what she was going through, because that's my attention. That's what I was doing that day a lot. I was sending my energy to other people, making sure they were good, they were okay, instead of focusing on myself. And they told me, like, in an interpretation meeting the next day, they're like, it is important to focus on yourself. So relax by focusing on your breathing, whatever you have to do, and whenever you worry, do the opposite of that. And also they're saying like no need to worry about the future, how it's going to be. It's important to decide your happiness now in the present, because that will form your future. Don't let external forces control the happiness that you have. And so I didn't really have too many notes from that day when we did the interpretation. I think I wrote here that I was also singing when Michael oh fuck, I wasn't supposed to say, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say his name, but I don't want to put on other people's business, the actual name, but I was singing, I think, a little bit that day too, when I felt like they were gone or something like that, to kind of, once again, like in my own healing sense, make sure they were good, adding my healing to the shaman's healing. I don't know why. But yeah, that was that day. Third ceremony. So we skipped the next day. We actually had a good meal because we didn't take a ceremony that third day. We skipped it because our ceremony was going to be the next day, because there are people who were coming for only 2 ceremonies. So they came that day. We met them. They had their own day where they did whatever they had to do. We met them and they did their first ceremony that day. So we didn't have one, so they can have their own first ceremony together. And so that was what they did that day. And we had like kind of like a free day. And they were only doing 2 ceremonies. So our third ceremony was going to be the same day with them, but that was going to be the only second ceremony, and that was the last one they were doing. And so we had that day. I can't remember what we did that day, but we eventually met them at dinner, and they talked to us, and they were all cool people from around different places, different countries, and very cool people. Now, the third day came around, the third ceremony day, so it was like the 4th day for us, and we had another volunteer activity. This one was going to a church, one of the first churches to accept people for what their own like culture was and what they prayed to, which was different from, like, I guess, an institutionalized religion like Christianity, because I think Christianity was brought when kind of land was kind of in a sense being conquered and kind of forced upon people, but people didn't want to, lose their own ancient practices and things like that. But this is one of the churches that really allowed them to sink that in to Christianity in a sense. And so, well-known place there, and people would make pilgrimages to this place and to the waters known as holy waters, or their holy waters, and that they would walk all the way there. Like, that was a crazy experience, because we did the volunteering, and then we went to the waters, and there was, the woman, the shaman came with us that day, and she actually was blessing, you know, us in the waters. And man, this almost made me cry. I'm telling you, I'm just feeling it right now. But we saw a man, and looked very old, and he was walking with his I guess with his daughter. And people are known to go to these waters, and they're known to strip. They're known to strip and wash themselves in the water to ask for whatever they want to ask for, to pray. And so, very old guy walking with like a stick, and she's helping him, and he goes into the water, and you know, he's stripping, because there's 2 or 3 sections, and he's stripping, and at that one, getting the water on him, you know, doing his prayer, whatever. And he even comes, they see us, they see the shaman blessing us, and the woman comes over with her father. He gets dressed from what he was doing, but she comes over, and she's like, I don't necessarily understand what she's saying, but she's like asking the shaman, could you please, you know, bless my father, in a sense. And so we let him, we let him go through, and he comes down the little steps, and she, you know, blesses him and whatever. And he, even from that point, he gets back up, he leaves, and they go up higher on because this is a hill, they go back up higher, because it's also, people, what they'll do is they'll take rocks, and they'll build these housing structures, and it's kind of like an offering, but they're asking for a home. And so they build these structures that look like a house. So when we were cleaning, we were told, you know, don't touch those, don't knock those over, don't touch those, because those are things that people put as a prayer to get a house, to get a home. And so we were cleaning around that, cleaning the, you know, the cans and stuff that might be around that. But he was going up even higher for whatever reason, to reach another point to do his pilgrimage or whatever. And so we did that. Talked a little bit on part of that mountain, and we went back and left. And from that point on, you know, we got back, and it was time to, you know, get ready for our 3rd ceremony. Now, my first 2 ceremonies, I had no visions. The first day, you know, it was a lot of the feeling. I was really connecting to the feeling and the vibrations, but I didn't have visions of anything. Second day, you know, that was even least there, because it was all the worry. Third day, it was now 8 of us participating in the ceremony, and not just 3, because 5 more people came. So now you have the 8 different energies from the people participating in the ceremony, and then you still have the energies of the staff and the shamans there, right? So keep in mind that this time I told myself, Jose, why don't you ask for more? Ask for more ayahuasca. It's your last ceremony. Maybe you want to have some visions, right? Ask for some more. That was probably the worst decision I could have made in my life, right? At that point. Let me explain to you. This is what you wanted to get to, and is at the end of the video. But listen, you listen to this, and I just know, even from all that I experienced, I would do it again. You know, I might not go up that mountain to that place. Just a note, we also, I think this is before the 5 other people came, we also went higher up the mountain to almost like the top of the mountain to do meditation up there. So we had to get back in the car, drive all the way up the mountain. Meanwhile, there's one of the dogs literally running after us all the way up the mountain. Followed us all the way up the mountain to around the edge and everything, dirt just blasting in his face. And apparently he does that all the time, like not stopping. He came up there, he reached up there, heaving like crazy, followed us the whole way. We took him back in the van, I think, or he ran back down. I think we took him back in the van, but he was heaving like red facing. He's a black dog because all the mud, like all the stuff around the face, because he's following right behind the car. But anyway, went up there, we danced a little bit, we did some type of meditation and stuff at the top. So it was great when we were up there, but getting up there was terrible. Going back down, terrible. We had to go back down each time for the volunteer stuff too. So that was like, every day I was just like, oh my God, I'm tired of this. But back to the ceremony, 3rd ceremony. I take a shot. I already told them I want more. They give me another shot. Very disgusting to take one shot after the first shot, take another shot. That's when it really got nasty. Now, immediately was trying not to throw up because you don't want to throw up in the first hour. Got it together, didn't throw up. May need my book for this one. After that, you wait an hour, they tell you to start drinking water. I drink some water, and after a while, I had to go to the bathroom because my stomach started bubbling. I went to the bathroom, and then I came back, and then that's when it started to hit me hard. I started really feeling it. I was like leaning against the wall with my eyes closed. I had a few attempts to purge, and when you purge, they want you to bend over, get on all fours. So I get my bucket. Feel like I'm ready to purge, but it didn't happen. And then it came out like 4 big ones, like 4 different ones. And the next thing I know, I got shamans coming over. Like, you already got the smell of Palo Santo burning, right? You got the Florida water that they put on you, or that you rubbed on you, whatever. Then they start chanting, and the chanting start making it go through your body. You're falling deeper into it. You got all the energies in a room, right? And so I'm just trying to control myself with all the smells that I got in there. The smells kind of started to irritate me, and I guess they felt like I was struggling when I was throwing up. They felt me struggling because I was the first person, I think, to throw up that night, that third night, because I might have had the most. I think somebody else might have had too, and so, yeah, talking about this now, I can kind of feel it in my body. I finally stopped kind of throwing up and stopped dry heaving, and I leaned back, right? I leaned back against the wall, closed my eyes. I start seeing this thing. It's like really sparkly. It looks like a needle spark, like a maybe green sparkling lightning bolt. And so I see it, and my eyes are closed, and it starts coming close and close to my face. And so I just start sobbing, crying. It's like, oh, stop, please. Now it's coming into my face, going into my face. It doesn't hurt, but for some reason I'm sobbing, crying, because I'm kind of in a sense scared a little bit, And then it's that happening, and I'm like opening my eyes. I'm like, I gotta get away from these smells, because the Florida water is like a cologne. So I smell that, and I smell the smoke, and I'm like, I just need regular air. I just need regular air, and I just like, I finally get up, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go. And as soon as I get up, somebody's about to follow me. I'm like, I need to go outside. And like, Jose, you shouldn't go outside. You don't need to go outside. Let's not go outside. So I make it outside the door of the Maloka, the main Maloka. Then you got the hallway with the bathrooms and stuff and the couch, and you got the other door to go outside. They're like, Jose, come on, it's cold outside. You don't want to go outside. Let's just stay here. Let's sit on the couch. So there's 2 people with me. So I don't even go to the couch. I walk to the front of the couch, sit on the ground, and that is literally, well, on the floor. That's literally where all hell basically broke loose for me. I still hear the shaman in the room slightly, and he starts singing faster and faster, and the vibrations start. I immediately grab my bucket, and I just start, and then literally from that point on, it felt like eternity was passing. Like, it felt like it would never end, from me dry heaving to throwing up, either or. I felt like it was never ending. It felt, and I'm sitting here like thinking to my head, like, what did I have to do this deserves this, right? And I'm just like throwing up. Like, at certain points, I'm like, I try to lie on the ground, on the floor, but when I put my ear to the floor, I hear the shaman even more. I hear him again, and I immediately jump up, because whenever I hear him, it just takes me deeper into the not the visions, but into the experience. It takes me deeper into the connection, and I'm like, I'm trying to get away from it a little bit. I'm trying to get away from it, and I don't want to feel that, because it's gonna make me throw up. But if it literally, like, I felt like I was dying, or I don't know what death, that felt like death to me, right? And it just kept going and going and going, and I'm just like, and I'm looking at the 2 people that are sitting there. It's a man and a woman, and they're sitting there and they're looking at me and I'm looking at them. Every time I see the girl, her face is like vibrating a little bit. I mean, his might have been too, but every time I looked at her, and this girl, this is a psychologist, her face is vibrating, and I immediately look away, because that also pulls me in too. And then sometimes, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, am I dying? Am I going to die? And she's like, this will pass. This will pass. You'll be fine. This will pass. But every time I talk to her and she starts talking to me, I get crazy bashful. And I'm like, stop. You just want to keep talking to me. You want to keep talking to me. Stop. I'm not going to look at you. I'm not going to look at you. But then I will start talking to her again. Without her trying to talk to me, I keep trying to talk to her. But every time I talk to her, I get crazy bashful about it. And then at certain points, I'm just rubbing my hand around on the ground, and I start tapping the ground, because it kind of grounds me into my dimension, my, where I am physically. And so I rub and tap on the ground. And at certain points, I would put my head down, but I remember, no, don't do that, because you're gonna fall deeper into it. So I'm tapping the ground, breathing. Hear the shaman again. I start singing, struggling to stop. Like, and it feels like like I can't stop it. You ever seen those cartoons where like they do like a superpower, like when they like scream, you see the circles coming out of their mouth, like they're screaming. It's like a banshee or something like that. That's how it felt with my voice. It felt like once I opened it and I started singing, I couldn't stop, and I had to struggle to stop it. And I started trying to focus on my breathing. When I would focus on my breathing, every time in between my breath, I would feel the suffocation. Between each breath, I could feel when I wasn't breathing. So I said, okay, stop focusing on the breathing. Just let yourself breathe, right? And so I started to get really paranoid. Now, somebody made a joke before I went on this trip. They said, this is going to be you. And they posted a picture of Midsommar. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's about this girl who goes to this vacation with her friends from college, and it ends up being a cult. And people die. And so the two people on the couch, when I wasn't talking to them, they would start talking to each other low. They can either have been doing like some type of chant to protect me, or they could have just been regularly talking to each other, but I couldn't hear them. But it started getting me very paranoid that they were doing something, that they were like plotting against me. And so I'm sitting there like, what are y'all talking about? What are y'all trying to talk about? This is a cult, and this is a cult. I am in a cult. I'm in a cult. I can't believe this. I'm in a cult. I can't believe that. Why did I come here? I'm in a cult. And I'm just laying there rubbing around the floor and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, is this going to end? Is this going to end? I don't know what's going on. I'm going to die here. I'm really going to die. And I'm just like, wow, I'm going to die here. Like, sobbing, crying, whatever. One of the girls, I think she's an intern, she comes past me, and I always liked her name because her name was like, it's like a instrument almost, but it was like cielo. And so I saw her feet, and she had on pink shoes, and I grabbed them, and I'm like, I look up at her and I say her name, cielo, and she's laughing, I'm laughing, because that also grounds me in reality when I see her shoes and I grab them. I'm like, where you going? You go to the bathroom? And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's inappropriate. Go ahead, do what you got to do. And so that takes me apart a little bit of what I was doing and experiencing, and I let her, and she goes and does whatever. But I'm still technically in the building a little bit. I'm still in the hallway, and I really wanted to go outside eventually, and I'm like, please, I just need to get away from the smell, because I start smelling. Let me not skip this part. One of the shamans, she comes outside. The day before, when I told them I was worrying a lot, she said, okay, I'm going to focus on you for the next ceremony. She comes outside, she comes to me, she starts singing to me. Immediately pulls me back into it. I grab my bucket again, starting to throw up or whatever. I think another one comes out. She's waving whatever stuff she's waving, the smoke into my face. I'm falling deeper into it. I close my eyes. What do I see? Not only do I see both of them there, it looks like an etch-a-sketch, like the cartoon effect that you would see on, like, you do the effect on TikTok or Instagram, something like that. It looks like that. I see, with my eyes closed, I see maybe them two being there. I see teepees. I see an animal running around. Can't figure out the faces of the other people there. And it feels like I'm in a ceremony right now in the present but also a ceremony like 1,000 years ago with other people there, like other people that might live with that tribe or whatever. So I feel like I'm in both places. And like, so I'm getting the visions that I wanted, but I'm like, this is too much right now. And so I opened my eyes from that. I'm like, I can't deal with that right now. I cannot deal with that. And so I opened my eyes back up, you know, and I'm like, I just want to go outside. I just want to get, I'm like, because when I saw her coming, they come and say, no, get away from me. Do not come to me. But they ain't listening. They came to me anyway. They start singing it to me. And so I'm like, can I go outside? And they're finally like, you can go outside. So I go outside. I sit, you know, where I sat the day before with the guy and the other shaman. I sit there, and I'm like, next, they're coming, there's 2 staff members are coming, throwing blankets on me because it's really cold outside, and your temperature changes anyway when you're under it. They're throwing blankets on me, and I'm just tossing them off while I'm sitting there, and I'm just giggling. I'm like, y'all just really hate me. And it's like, no, you're fine. You're okay. And they keep putting them at me. I keep pushing them off, and they're like, no, you're fine. It's okay. You're okay. And I'm just looking at the stars. Just looking at it, feels like you can touch them. And I'm like looking at them. And then, of course, the shaman comes out. She comes out, the one who said it was gonna focus on me. She starts singing again. I fall into it again. Boom. Take my bucket. I don't throw up. I feel like I'm about to throw up. But then she comes to my head. She's at the top of my head. She starts doing this thing behind me. Immediately I start to feel like she's draining some type of negativity off of me, from me, right? I feel relief, and I literally say like, yeah, that's nasty, ain't it? Yeah, spit it out. I'm a fool. I say that to her, and she just keeps going. She's doing whatever. And I start to just look, and I just start to accept that I'm going to die here, you know. And I'm sitting there like, wow, you go from reading about this months ago to taking the risk, and now you're going to die on this mountain. You're going to be buried here on this mountain. And I just started giving myself all these affirmations about you are confident, you are kind, you are a king, you are God, you are Apu, the mountain, you are greatness. I'm giving myself all these affirmations, and I become content with dying. And I think, in a sense, I start to, you know, I remember, because I read about ego death. Ego death is where your sense of self dissipates, in a sense. You become one with the universe. Some people experience it, some people don't. But it's basically, it feels like you actually are dying. You actually die, in a sense. Not physically, not your physical body, but your spirit or your ego of who you are dies, and you become one with everything. And I think at that point I did. And I accepted that I was going to die. And, you know, she's a shaman still there. She's singing softly, maybe a little bit to me, and I'm just sitting there. And then the person who runs the place, it's a daughter of the actual owner. He's usually not there. He came that day to close the final ceremony. And he's been to America, lived in America for years. He started this place maybe 40 years ago. And but the daughter comes up. She's like, are you okay? You okay? And I said, you're very beautiful. Am I in a cult? And she's like, what? And they're like a religious cult, whatever. She's like, oh, no. My father's here. He's gonna close the ceremony. He's gonna close the ceremony. We met him earlier. He's gonna close her. He's coming. I was like, you wanna go inside? He's like, yeah, fine. And I'm like, you wanna go inside? And they're like, no, you're fine. I'm like, you wanna go inside? So that whole time I was fighting to go outside, and I felt like they were trying to keep me from going outside, restrict me and trap me. But now I'm offering to go inside. And like, you don't have to go inside. But and he's like, and one of the other guys, he's like, yeah, you think you're affected? You should see them in there. They've been going through it inside. And then so father comes, and we go inside. And the father starts to do the closing ceremony himself, and like when he's coming running around doing, you know, whatever his ceremony is around the whole room. And you know, we're starting to calm down, except for the person who is there having her own like sexual experience the whole night that we joked about later, because she was having a good time in her head, and we heard it. But he was calming us all down, and of course I started crying again, because mind you, at different points I was crying because I felt like I was going to die, and still at that point I was crying because I was thinking like I won't be able to tell my story because I'm gonna die here. Like, even though he was calming us down, we were starting to fall calm and go to sleep, I was still sobbing, right? Close ceremony, I guess maybe an hour later, we all, get awakened, and we get taken to our rooms, do our blood pressure, everybody, and she leaves the room after she does our blood pressures, and I'm in a room with my roommate, and I'm just like, yo, bro, can you come here? And I'm just like, are we going home? Because I thought I was gonna die, and I started crying again. It's like, no, bro, if we going home. If we about to go home, I would have been already fighting. We going home, bro. You good. And I was crying. I write in my journal, and I go to sleep, right? And so that crazy day is over, and we have our meeting the next day, our final meeting, going over how we felt, our experiences and stuff. People were going around sharing their experience. And there's one girl in particular who she shared her experience about how she felt I was struggling, and she was trying to send her love to me, because she felt like something was coming after me, or maybe it was a demon or something, and that same demon was maybe coming after her, and she was trying to send energy and positive energy to me. And at one point she also talks about a flower that was one of her family, that she was a flower or something like that, which is interesting because when it came to my turn to share, I start crying again. Then another girl start crying, and another person start crying because they hear me crying, and we're trying to tell my experience. Because I'm just like, I just start crying before I even say anything, because I'm like, I thought I was going to die. I literally thought I was going to die. I thought I was dying, and I thought like I was in a call, and that I'm not making it from this place, and it scared the crap out of me. And I told them how I was trying to get away from the music and the smoke and get myself together. And one of the other girls saying it's the opposite for her. Like, when the music stopped, that's when all hell broke loose for her, and she needed the music. And so the shaman was also talking about how at one point I was talking to a flower, and I don't remember that at all. I don't really remember. Oh, I did. I remember I did look at myself in the mirror. They usually say, I guess on the psychedelics, don't look at yourself, but I was just looking at myself, and I was just staring. Shaman said she thought I was having vision, but I was just kind of looking at myself for some reason, just staring, analyzing myself. But yeah, she said I was talking to a flower, and it just made me connect to what the other person talking about her being a flower. And so I think maybe we were adjoined in a sense in that part of that. But I expressed my experience, and they were basically like, congratulations, you've been reborn, in a sense, and it confirmed me thinking about the whole ego death thing. And that was really it. That was the experience, my last day. And after that, they give you like also something like you're not supposed to smoke weed or have alcohol for some days or a week or so, and try to still eat clean and meditate, because you might still have some certain dreams, different types of dreams. And then try to do some type of integration. That day we also did like a closing, like an offering ceremony to Mother Earth, or what they call Pachamama. Giving this offering of a bunch of different things, like what we saw when I did the tour, burying that offering, and then one of the person who was doing the offering, sung, I think the shaman sung, and they offered for anybody else to sing. And of course, people had heard me singing all through the van ride. We were singing to all the different songs. They're like, Jose, like, oh my God. So I think I did Change Gonna Come, a part of Change Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. Did a little bit of that. I was like, all right. And so we did that, did the close ceremony. We kind of saying bye to everybody. I was the only one that was going to Machu Picchu with that place. A few people had bought Machu Picchu separately. And so I had left in a separate van from everybody else that was getting taken to like where we got picked up at. And so I had a different car, because the guy took me in a car, and the guy was taking me straight to to pick up the other guy who was going to be my tour guide, and had me arrange for my train ticket and everything. So I got my train ticket. My train ticket was taking me to Ollantaytambo, I think that's how you pronounce it, Ollantaytambo, which is kind of like Machu Picchu city. So went there, caught the train, was sitting in front of this bad kid who would be kicking his feet, and I was about to grab his foot because he's not speak Spanish. So I was about to grab his foot and just stare him in the eye, and because his parents wasn't doing nothing about it. And but I got through that plane trip, got into my room, which had dolls sitting on the bed. I don't know, it was creepy, and pushed the dolls off the bed, and just, you know, slept for that night. I think I left and went to go get some food, and I didn't really like the food both places I went. But I went back to my room, you know, like went to sleep to get ready for Machu Picchu the next day. And so the next day I met up with the guy. We got on a bus to drive 25 minutes up the mountain to get to Machu Picchu. Got on the bus, got to the top of the mountain. Since I was the only guy with him, he was doing a tour of Machu Picchu with just me, and that was the whole process in itself, because even though we still had to walk around Machu Picchu, and I was out of breath every few steps because of the altitude. And so he gave me a great tour, telling me about the different places, and he had like little LED pointer lights, so he was showing me different artifacts and stuff that we couldn't necessarily go into, but he was showing me the different building structures. And they believed that Machu Picchu wasn't like a lost city. It wasn't a city. They believed it was like a university, a college, or something like that, where the Incas would choose some of the top performers of these different tribes to go there to learn there, and then, you know, kind of like send them back. But what had happened, what they believe, is that a outbreak of some type of disease broke out, and they end up closing Machu Picchu down and sending people home, in a sense. And so that happened before the big war had happened, when it was being conquered. And by that point, vegetation had grew over Machu Picchu, and nobody was there. So these people who had destroyed, because like the people who conquered, what they would do is they would destroy all things that were made by Incas, but they will keep the foundation of the rocks, which is amazingly cut and carved rocks that fit perfectly together. It was amazing infrastructure. They would keep that base and build their churches over top of it, their Catholic churches over top of it. So you will only see the ruins at the bottom of the Inca foundation. But Machu Picchu, everything was still there, because they didn't know where it was. They didn't even know about it really existing until some guy from America kept hearing about it, and some younger person, some kid of a village or whatever, showed him it, and then he got a bunch of people to clean it up. So he wasn't necessarily the one to discover it. The people of that land knew it was there, kind of knew about it, and they took him to it. But he's kind of he's revered in a sense too, for like helping clean it up and reintroduce it to the world. So yeah, you know, he did the Machu Picchu thing, explained all that stuff to me. I met up again with the guy that was my roommate, like that night or whatever. The next day we were like, okay, let's try to go out. So break the rules of what we're supposed to do. Really, we supposed to chill, but we met up and we would try to go out. This dude had like this crazy hotel room, like heated floors in the closet and stuff like that. It was like, yeah, benefit of my upgraded car. I'm like, oh, excuse me. And so we met up. A lot of stuff was closing early because of COVID. And so we tried to go to these bars. We tried to figure out the bars that was in Cusco. We went to a bar, and it just so happens there was these 3 girls in front of us while we were waiting. This bar was about to close in less than an hour, maybe 30 minutes. And he said something to them, and they spoke English. And we ended up talking and said, hey, we can go in with you. We can, you know, hang out with you guys. They were like, yeah. So we sat down, we hung out, and just talked. And for like the next 30 minutes, and that's when I made a video about a joke about how like we found out like the shots were like $6 for 6 shots. So dude bought shots for all of us, and I was about to buy another round, but he just said, nah, I'm gonna get it. We just bought shots for all of us twice, and then we took the shots or whatever. And then we were like, yeah, I know about anything else happening because this is closing. And it was talking about some like other place or something, a party. But so we left there with them, and we ended up going to they had an Airbnb because they were kind of visiting too. Even though they were Peruvian, they were visiting Cusco, and so we went to their Airbnb. We were chatting it up with them and stuff, about life in America and all this stuff, their life here. And on our way to Airbnb, though, we heard this music, and it was like some type of house party or something going on, right? And we were talking about knocking on the door or whatever, and they were like, nah. And so we ended up going to their Airbnb, talking to them, and we stayed there for a while, and then me and him left, and we were just about to go home, like walk back to our spots, and then we were passing that place again. I was just like, you know what? Forget it. And I knocked at the door. No, somebody was coming out at that time, I think, too. Anyway, and the girl was leaving. She's like, yeah, if y'all want to go in, we about to shut down, but you can go in. We go in, kind of like this. It's like because we saw like from the Airbnb, it's like I don't even know what you call it, but it's like a part down. You can see the different sides of the, I don't know what to call it, but basically from the Airbnb you can see out the window into that part, that open part where like people can have tables and stuff. Across the thing you can see a person standing outside another door, which is the same building of the house party. So we knew they were still having a house party. So when we left and the girl told us to go in, we went in, and they were still jamming, like playing the music, jamming with a few people there. So me and him, we just go up in there, start dancing, acting a fool, doing all that dancing stuff, and then somebody walked up to him, started talking to them. Some guy walked to me, started talking to me. He was saying he's from North Carolina. He came here actually to take ayahuasca. He took it in a different place that I actually had heard about, and he ended up staying there. Probably he's still there now. Like, he ended up just deciding to move there, like after taking it and just loving the place and whatever, he moved there. And so I met him. The other guy met these other people, and we were just having a good old time for a little bit. Then when they shut down, the other guy who was hosting the party saying he's going somewhere else. So mind you, curfew is close to hitting curfew of the city. But we leave there to go to this other place, and I'm just like talking to him like, bro, we just went to a house party in Peru. Bro, what? Like, my second time out of the country, I went to a house party in Peru. And so we tried to go to the other place, but we found out it shut down. And so we was like, okay, let's just call it a night and make it home. So calling the night, I ended up taking a taxi back because I was gonna walk, and I was like, yo, this is a long walk and I'm out of breath and all that. And so I see a taxi, and so I bargained with him to take me back to my hotel, because I was at a different hotel now, not in that close area I was in before. So he takes me back, and I go home, do whatever. I had already scheduled I was kind of drunk, and I'm just like, dang, I gotta be up at like 6 a.m. for this tour. The other tour I scheduled another tour, and so I was gonna cancel it, which I wish I would have did, but I didn't. And I got up for it, and they picked me up from the hotel and all that stuff. And I'm still kind of hungover and all that. And I'm going to tour. It was already an off feeling, because for all the tours I've went on, and that wasn't the first one, I was the only English speaking person there. Because, like I said, people from Peru also go on these tours that come to Cusco. So I was the only English speaking person, and they were promoted as bilingual tours, but that meant that the person would have to speak in Spanish the whole thing to everybody, and then repeat everything in English. And so this person was like, oh, you don't speak English? No. I'm like, first of all, if you got an issue with me speaking English, how about you do a separate English tour and not do both in the same one, if that's really an issue. And so it was just, I would have to wait for him to explain the whole thing to them and then explain it to me. And I feel like he was giving me a cookie cutter version. And I was like, yo, at one point, I was like, one of the things, I think it was the second one we went to, I was just like, yo, it might have been the first time, like, I can go, I can ask for a refund, get my money back if it's too much for you. And, because I'm already, I'm still already, like, I'd rather just be laying out or something, like, anyway. Like, because if you just going to have an attitude or whatever, or just give me cookie cutter, he's like, no, you're fine. Trying to save face or whatever. So I stay and I go to the different places and stuff like that. And I just at some points I just walk away from them and do my own thing, looking at stuff while he's explaining to them, because I don't want to just stand there being clueless. And then I could have used my my app, but my phone would have died by the time we got halfway through it, because I'll be using the app to have it transcribe his whole speech and then me reading it. And so I'm just like, I'm just like, I'm good. You know, I would just wait for him to tell me whatever. And I was just walking around. I didn't even necessarily even care too much about him having to explain to me. I was looking at the signs and stuff too. And so all that happened for that day. I think I was going to schedule Rainbow Mountain, which is like even higher with the altitude. I've heard of some people, you know, passing out and stuff because the altitude, and you can get a horse to ride up there, but it was also early, and I was just like, man, I don't want this experience to happen again, and I'm just tired, so I just skipped that tour. And I think one of those nights I went back to the, you know, that area, that location I was at before, the plaza, and then I see this girl waving at me, and it was the girl from the museum I went to, right? And so she brought me back over to the three other girls that she was with, the two other girls she was with, and we chatted up for a little bit. I was like, oh, that's cool, they recognize me. I was like, yeah, I recognize y'all too. And we chatted for a little bit, and so that was a great experience. You know, the tours and stuff that I had, just learning so much, and then, you know, the whole ayahuasca experience. And when it was the day to go back to Lima, I went back to Lima. Did I meet back up? Yeah, I met back up with the mother and father. I think the father might have been the one that got me this time. Went back to their house for a little bit. Mind you, I also met, so this is around my birthday, I also met, because downstairs lived the grandma, like the mother's mother, and her sister, and her sister's husband and children, or whatever. And so one of the children was also learning English, but she, you know, she had a translator on her computer, so she would translate stuff and talk to me and ask me about American stuff like that. And then at one point, you know, she had came up and she sung happy birthday to me. Like, I put a video somewhere, but she can sing her butt off, sung happy birthday to me. And I was just like, out of place, like, oh my God, like, I was like, what did I say, what I do? But she's really, really good. So she sung to me, and she's younger too, sung to me. You know, when it was time for me to go, I said bye to all of them. I took pictures with the family downstairs, and I can't remember when this happened, at what point this happened, but that's the one I was trying to remember, was it after I came back or before? But we went to a buffet, and we had went to the buffet with the mother and father, and they were basically, it was like different courses. And it was like so much food, and I couldn't even eat it, but each course was something different, like, you know, Peruvian dish or whatever. And then they were like, yeah, eat it, just try it. Even though I was crazy full, they're like, no, just try it to see if you like it, So I was eating all the food, full like crazy. And so it was just a great time. You know, they still wouldn't accept none of my money. It's like, no, it's our hospitality and it's like that. And so what I figured to do was, right when I was leaving, because we went back to the house, and then when it was time for me to go to the airport to come back here, I saw her Bible, and, you know, my name is a biblical name, so I went to the section that had my name, and while she was like wherever she was in the kitchen, whatever, I slipped a bunch of like the money I had left over in there. In there. I don't know if I slipped some actual. I might have slipped maybe some American dollar money too. But I was making sure like the American dollars or money was good, because like they don't like to take money. The companies that when you transfer the money over, they don't like to take money that's bent or torn or anything like that. They'll take money off of what they're giving you because of that. And so I think I might have gave her some American money, but also like giving them some of the money I had left over of Solas to her, and hid it. And so I didn't tell her until I came back here. And on WhatsApp, I told them I had a great time. It was great, and can't wait for them to come to America and visit. And I told her, like, check your Bible, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, you didn't have to do that, blah blah. And so, so that was a great experience with them, and it was so nice. And I think the dad even gave me his army jacket. He said, just tell people you were in the army in Peru. I was like, what? But he gave me his jacket, whatever. And yeah, that was basically my experience. You know, you're supposed to do this type of integration, which I didn't really do. I should have, you know, next time, you know, do this type of integration to integrate what you've learned and stuff and more into your life, whether it's the meditation and stuff like that. But I know it's a long video, but, you know, it was a great experience. I don't know who's going to watch this video for an hour and 30 minutes. But I said what I had to say about the experience and how it was, and yeah, that's it. So I mean, from here, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will eventually type this stuff up so you get even more detailed with the order and stuff, the way stuff happened. I will eventually post those pictures. The reason I didn't post them because I know a lot of them are repetitive, because I would give my phone to the tour guys and they would take pictures, and they would take a bunch of pictures, different aspects and stuff like that. And so a lot of pictures are the same, which makes it's literally 1,000 pictures. Like, I didn't even take 1,000 pictures myself, you know, and so I wanted to kind of filter through them, but I just didn't do it yet. So eventually I will do it. But yeah, that is it. That is my story. Mom, I hope you watched the whole thing. If you didn't, I hope you're not, worried or whatever, because I'm fine. And that is all. So thank you for listening. If you listened, if you didn't, I hate you. Goodbye.